Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It's December 4th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And we talked about it for a moment yesterday. It does look like the market's closed tomorrow. The CMA closes early, so no trading tomorrow. Won't be any mid-morning chart or uh, YouTube lesson tomorrow afternoon. So we won't be back again till Thursday to wrap up our week on Thursday. So. Um, Anyway, in case you weren't aware of that, it sounds like the CME will be closing at 8:30 tomorrow and won't reopen till I believe it reopens at the usual time, 3:30 or maybe it was 5. I can't remember. But anyway, no regular trading tomorrow. So I won't be here. I won't come in. I'll take the day off and enjoy a day off. But anyway, we got a large two-tiered channel working down here. You can see we had a few trades off of this early on, but the bigger channel, all it really helped you for was to kind of have an idea of where to look for some possible reversal points, the midline, the trend channel line to reverse, the trend line to turn back down again. And you can see we're moving, and notice what happens. You come through the EMA or the midline, you pull back and tested it again. We even came back and tested it some more before we finally went lower and bounced right off an equal distance, traveled all the way back to the trend line again, and then turn back down. And look at us how we bounce down that uh, midline until the closing here. So interesting day, big sell off. um, I actually got, it's rare when you get an email that reminds you of the limit moves in the futures where they halt trading. I do not believe they halted trading any today. I'm not sure because I didn't trade very long today. I was done early. And so I don't think they halted trading, but I did get notice that of what the limits were. And if you're not aware of that, you should be, that the market can only move a certain percentage uh, before they won't allow any more trades. They'll halt trading for some period of time. There's some rules on it. If you've got an account, you probably got an email. You can read the email, or you can go to the CME and read their rules. So just keep that in mind when you got huge moves like this. I mean, I'm not even sure what I think I read the Dow was, or got a headline, the Dow was down 800 points, but we opened right here at 2790 and we closed at 27. That's almost a 100-point move in the ES or S&P mini, and that's big. That's really big. So it was a pretty big down day. Lots of chance to make money. Lots of runners. Um, I mean, like I said, I was done early this morning. And sometimes it pays off to keep trading a day like this, especially if you catch some runners. But um, I was done before the real big sell-off even started, so it didn't help me. But let me back out. You saw the bigger picture. Let me back out so you can see something here, and we'll get through these trades. There's quite a few, so I'm going to move through them pretty quickly. But we had an early second entry long right here in an up. We've been trending up since real early in the overnight session, and it looks like midnight actually we started trending up, and you can see we're making higher highs and higher lows. And we get up here, we make a new high, we pull back, you get a first entry, then you pull back again, and when it broke above these two matching highs, that's the second entry long right at the EMA. Normally I'd probably tell you might want to wait till we come back to the trend line. I saw this as a spiking channel. We spiked up and went in this channel. I just drew the trend line off the highs and then drug it down. It didn't really fit well down here, but you can see there it looks like a spiking channel, and it fits pretty well. So that's where I left it. And I'm sure there's a midline in here. I didn't even try to put it on here, but you can see it. There's your midline right there. It fits perfectly. So you can tell that channel is correct. That just helps you. I mean, I knew it was correct already, but that if you don't do this a lot and you're looking for a confirmation, knowing your midline is right, and you can see the prices playing both sides of it, so it tells you it's right. But anyway, We had a second entry long right here off the EMA, but the reason I really like this one is notice this support here. You have this low, you tested it once, you tested it twice, you got a big, nice bullish bar closed almost on its high. That's a good place to go long. Really would have been nice if it took off. It didn't. It was easy scalp. Then we come back down and you get a little failed break lower out of this, what looks like a trading range, and it bounces right off your suspected trend line, confirms it. A bullish bar, go long right there. There's a higher low here, but the signal bar is too bearish and it's right back into the highs. This one's tempting, but the uptrend, this is an uptrend and there's been no break of the trend line. We just came off the key entry point. Even though there's some strong resistance here, I don't think you want to risk a short there. You want to wait on the lower high, which doesn't come down here. And even generally, you got to be careful on a lower high because you may turn and go try to test the high, but that is such a bearish sell-off. Look how we didn't have any support at the EMA. Well, we had a little bit. You can see it bounced momentarily, but then just kept on. Then we had no support at the trend channel line. It went right on through, drops, pulls back. And so that's one leg, and you would expect at least an attempt at a second leg, especially after a move like that bearish. And so a measured move is right here, and you can see we had basically a perfect measured move. So when you got that failed second entry long, and again, I drew this trend line off those lows there and pulled it up, and it turns down right off of it with a big bearish bar. Even though that's a first entry, that's a real tight channel. I'm going to take that one. Then you get your failed second entry short right here. I'm sorry, failed that second entry long. Notice the new high, first entry, pull back second entry. And this is the first break of this channel, and your measured legs down here, you got enough room to get out before that low, just in case it bounces again. And this thing just takes off. And so if you caught one of these two trades, probably all you needed today, especially this one, you would have had a nice runner on it. And that perfect measured move. And then we just kind of started going sideways here. I like this one again because we made the high here. You tested it once, you tested it twice. Big bearish bar, but more than anything, you got a trend working up. You get a break, and you get another attempt to go higher. It goes slightly higher, and you can just see that resistance across there. Go short right there. Quick, easy move. Then it bounces. Of course, you can tell there's support here. We do have a break of this channel, a new low, and two legs down to a new low. And this actually broke lower and turned and went back up. So you might go long there. I'm not crazy about it. But if you want to be aggressive, that's where a lot of times you'll catch a major low or something. And at this point, this market is not that bearish. It's more neutral, if anything. And we're in a tight trading range, so we're probably headed to the other side. Guess what? It runs right back to the other side, turns down right at the same spot, gives you a nice bearish bar, goes short right there, and this time it keeps going. It does bounce, though. There is a little trap here with a failed second entry short. So, again, that's another one you could argue to maybe take. But we're still making, even though we're in a little bit of a trading range here, we're still making lower lows and lower highs. And this could just come back up and test the breakout area again and turn down. So it does push through it. So there's some reasons to say, hey, that's worth risking. So I'll mark it. But then you can see I would have drawn my trend line off this, and we kept turning down off of it. I like it. The only problem is we still had this support and we're still inside of it. But that's a failed second entry long. We already had the trend line confirmed. We tested again and turned down right off of it. Prices are starting to close below that EMA, even though it's a little bit flat there. Nice bearish bar. The only reason that's not red is because it's right back into that support area, but we've already pushed through it a couple of times, so it's not as important as it was before it went through right here a couple of times. But you still have to be aware of it, and it still is a little bit concerning to go short there. But when we push down and now we're making lower highs and lower lows, and we come back and you get a second entry short right there at the key entry point, big bearish bar. There is a little trend line working up here, but it's a channel and there's a big overshoot, which, a lot of times on overshoots you won't get a break and a retest. It just takes off again. So I like that one just because it's a second entry, big bearish bar at the key entry point. Runs down, it comes back. It's tempting to try it again, but again, it's almost a repeat pattern too. But look at it. It's just a first entry this time. But if you look at a bigger picture, it would be a second entry. It's a little bit of a repeat pattern. Look at it with that overshoot, real tight overshoot right at the key entry point. So, and we don't have a new low yet. Even though we've got a break here, we don't have a new low. It's still more of a sideways, but we're making lower lows and lower highs. So that's another one you could argue to be at least green, but I'm not going to make it red because I just think it's a little bit aggressive. But notice what happens. You're moving down. You try to come back once. And again, there's another one off the key entry point, and it's a little bit sideways. It's a little failed breakout. But I think you're better off to wait on some kind of a little better trap or something, and then you get a failed second entry long right there. So that's a double test of that EMA underneath it. That's where I think you want to go short. Again, you could argue for that one, and you could almost argue for it to be red. But I was just a little leery of getting short into these lows across here. And we finally, I don't have the line on there, but we finally pushed through and came back. But either way, if you wait on this trade, if you took any of these three, which you could have, even this one you could probably argue it's a lower high, and we have pushed through these lows here now. But when we made another lower high, and it's that third attempt to go higher in a double test of that, that's the one I really like. There's not a lot of room before the lows here, but you can see what's coming. We're getting lower and lower and lower highs, and then suddenly it breaks, and once it gets through that support, it's gone. And if you catch this one trade, man, that's a quick, easy trade. And this turns out to be two-tiered as well. This is a midline. And you can see it, just the bottom falls out. And I would go ahead and draw my shorter term trend line right down through here too. You can see that. And notice how it gaps over it right there. Get to break and you make a new low off of that channel. This is what I'm talking about, always talking about trends within trends and shorter term stuff. But anyway, that's the first break of that really short term one. It's back to the EMA. And notice that low, first entry, second entry, or not back to the EMA, back to the midline, I'm sorry. And I like that one. It tries to go higher once, twice, so that's like a failed second entry long. The only reason I don't like that one is because there's 4 or 5 stacked up, and there's definitely a doji in there. So that is very congestive looking, so it could, and we're not really back to the EMA, not quite back to the trend line either. So after that second entry, when it didn't really take off yet, I would be a little leery of getting short on either one of those. You could say that's a double test, but with that being not a very good signal bar at all, I'm not risking that one. It does make a new low, and then it bounces. And look at it climbing up, and you get a close outside, move to a new high, and right at the EMA, the trend line, it turns down. Just go short right there. It took a minute to take off, but it takes on off. Notice that high there though, and then you get a first entry, a second entry. There's your failure, and it's right off the key entry point again. A nice signal bar. Go short right there. First entry, second entry, plus you try to go higher 3 times. Strong resistance. You could call that technically you could call that a failed second entry long too, but that's a little bit of a stretch really to try to, without all the other reasons. A little failed break higher, second entry short. I like strong signal bar, not very big either when you've had a lot of big bars. That's the really good thing about coming down through here. Some of these bars are more realistic. And look at it go. And it pulls back here at the EMA, and we're not back to the low side yet, so you might, it's just a first entry, but it's a lower high after that new high, so you might consider that one. There's plenty of room to get out, but and this one did gap over, so you may not have been able to get in it anyway. And then it bounces. And the only clue you have that this may bounce and get a break here is that we're not getting back to the other side. We're pushing through without pushing on down, and then suddenly we're headed higher. And I don't think you want to be buying in here at all. This is not very strong. This looks like a correction. So we're just kind of waiting on a lower high or a good setup. And you finally get a lower high here, but not a very good signal bar. A lot of stem there. Closed really in the upper half. We finally get a lower low and now a lower high right, and we're on the other side of the midline on this bigger channel. That's where you go short. We're working down, and then you make a new high and you get a lower high here, and that's a new low. First entry, second entry, so another second entry short. And it takes it a minute, but again the bottom falls out. Come back here, first entry, come back. So right at the EMA, right at the possible trend line. And again, I drew this trend line off these lows, drug it up. And you get a second entry short there at the EMA. First break of this trend line, and you can see it fits right down through there. You might even tighten it up a little bit, but generally it works off the highs, but you want it where it fits the best, and it really fits better right there. And you can see we do get that break. So I like that second entry at the EMA. There's a lower high here, which I would have really liked, except that's a perfect doji. And you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 bars, ends up being 5 bars. This thing's really bearish, but you still got to be careful of trades like that, because you may get 2 legs back and it may come back up here somewhere. Unfortunately, the bottom falls out, and it's just, you don't really get a good chance to enter it. But you've had, there's been plenty of chances. And it goes a perfect equal distance for this channel, for this 2 tiers, and bounces on the money. You don't want to be going long in here. All this is really tempting. There is a second entry here, but you're going long right into that. It's getting close to here. Even though we're probably headed here, and if we get through here, we're probably headed here. I'm going to at least wait till we get on the other side of the EMA here before I start shooting for this side of it. And finally we push through, pull back. Notice we got this little trend line working down. You get a break, move to a new low, and it bounces. That one's tempting. It's a second entry coming off of the highs. I drew this off the highs, drug it down. But really, you could have just waited for that one, and then you got your higher low here. Push right through the MA, pull back. I like that one. And I really thought it would go on up here, but it breaks. This market's still weak, even though you got a lot of buying coming in here, still weak. And then you push up first entry, second entry, and you get a second entry short there that doesn't go anywhere, and it bounces at the EMA. I like entering there. This one's tempting, but when it didn't take off here and it pulls back again, this is a higher low, but it's right back into some resistance across there. So I'd like to see a little more bullishness first. So it pushes on up, pulls back, and then you get a little trap right there. If it wasn't for that little trap where it tries to go lower twice, I wouldn't even like this one. But this time it takes off, and it's probably trapped some shorts, and it's probably going to run. And you figure we're headed to this line here. And there's actually, I didn't try to draw it, but I should have, just for everybody to see it. You can see that trend line right there. And I would say that's probably going to be the upper side of it. Let's just see if the midline fits, just to confirm it. And I'd say that midline fits pretty good. Let's see if we go all the way up. That probably fits a little better. So that's probably it right there. So you can see that fits a lot better. Prices are playing each side of that line. So you got your 2-tiered channel right there. You didn't really have to have that, but it just tells you what you're, it gives you a better idea that, hey, we're probably headed for that target up there, not only because of the big channel, but because this is a 2-tiered channel too, and we haven't necessarily got to the highs yet. And we know we're probably working towards here anyway. Look how we got back above the EMA, tested it twice. That's important too right there on that trade. And off it goes. So this was really tempting to want to get short up here, but that's too bullish and that's not bearish enough, even though it's a lower high and both of them are off that key entry point. There's not a lot of room between there and that low and the EMA or even the midline there. So I'm a little leery of that one. And it doesn't give you another opportunity to get in even before 2 o'clock. So there's a little second entry short right there. But that's well after 2 o'clock. So, I mean, there were just so many trades today. Like I said, even here, I'm not crazy about these longs. I'll just be honest with you. This has been so bearish. But if you see this channel, this 2-tier channel, if you found that and you know that you've got it right, which you can, it's pretty obvious based on how prices are turning off everything, midline, trend line, trend channel line. It's pretty obvious we're probably headed here, but in a big, strong trend, you never know. It could turn down early again. And so you need to make sure we're definitely making higher highs and higher lows, and you get some kind of little traps or something to the short side that you want to jump on. And notice how it finally took off there, but it made a couple little traps there before it shot off, and then that's why it shoots off real fast like that. And sometimes that's what they have to do to take it up. Notice how it's trying to go higher here, tried to go higher, tried to go higher, tried to go higher, and then it finally it tries to go higher again, because every time it fails, there's people thinking short here. Let's get short. Let's get short. It's been a real bearish day, and then suddenly they realize, hey, this thing isn't going lower. We're going higher. It's just a matter of time, and they all exit, and it rockets off. So that's kind of what happens there, and that's why you suddenly see those big surges up. But really big bearish day, overall 2-tiered channel that we never got out of all the way down, still trading in it to the next after hours here. So interesting day, but again, no trading tomorrow. We'll be back again to do it Thursday. So enjoy the day off. I'll see you Thursday, but I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.